Hi, I'm Life Coach Landry, and the topic is 8 signs you're dating someone that's manipulative. When you're with someone you genuinely love, it can be really difficult to admit if things have gone south. It's even harder to acknowledge if your significant other is a manipulative person who is mistreating you, especially if you've been together for a long while and everything was all puppies and rainbows at first. Well, shit happens. So we're going to dive into, even though shit happens, sometimes you're with a shitty person. And as difficult as it may be, recognizing manipulation in a relationship as soon as possible is crucial, because if it goes unnoticed, it often leads to abuse, whether that be emotional or physical, okay? So here's how psychology defines manipulation: the exercise of undue influence through mental distortion and emotional exploitation with the intention to seize power, control, benefits, privileges at the victim's expense. Okay? So sounds too frightening to be true, but it happens in relationships a lot, more often than you think, and in ways that are subtle and thus tough to pinpoint for a lot of people. So I'm going to help you clear that up with 8 signs, okay? Because manipulative partners manage to disguise their need to control in shades of deep love and affection, and it's because I care, or it's because of how much I love you, or it's because of things you've done in the past, so I feel the need to manipulate you. It can be very confusing, but once you take a step back and have an honest look at what's happening, it's not hard to see their true colors. So we're going to dive in here. There are 8 signs you're with someone who's manipulative. Number 1, they always want to know what you're doing and who you're seeing. It may be sweet at first if your partner texts you to check on how you're seeing or doing or what you're doing, but it can cross a line pretty easy. The second it starts to feel like they're controlling you, you have a problem. Your gut tells you right away, I don't like the way they're coming at me. And if you feel that way, you know it. You don't need to sit here and dive into stuff all day. You know it. It's a feeling you get. Each person in a relationship deserves a good deal of independence, free of their partners watching, eye hovering over them, yada, yada, yada. So if your significant other is too nosy, they may be trying to control everything you do, which is a shade of trying to manipulate you. In the past, relationships, when you didn't answer his or her insistent calls or texts, they would actually come looking for you, or their texts or messages to you would become much more vulgar or strong. Manipulation. Okay? And I do want to point out, before we get into the other signs, know the difference between manipulation and incompatibility. Some people just don't work with you, and they're not bad people. That just means you're incompatible. But there are some people who work with you, and they're choosing to manipulate you. Number 2, you find yourself apologizing a lot to them for doing things you didn't really think you did wrong. So say you've done something to upset your partner, right? And you didn't think it was anything harmful at all, such as forgetting to call them after you got off work or when you went out to meet your friends. But they get upset and you're having a fight, things get heated, you exchange a few words, pretty typical. And at the end of it, you realize that you were the one who has apologized and asked for forgiveness. And you have no idea how you even ended up that way. You're sitting there going, dude, what the fuck? They came at me. I explained them in a respectful way, and I found myself apologizing. Now, if you were totally like, I went to a concert tonight and didn't get home until 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was supposed to come over and have dinner with you at 7. Okay, that's you should feel guilty for something like that. But we're talking, you go to happy hour after work and you're going to be an hour later than you normally would. 2 hours. Big whoop. Like, we're humans, leave them their space. You don't need to know every moment of everything someone's doing. If they love you, they'll be home. Don't worry about it. But if they do it, they do this because they want everything to be focused on them and their feelings. That's not okay. In a relationship, feelings on both sides have to be respected. Number 3, you feel like they're constantly judging you. A manipulative individual is a champion at cutting down a person's self-esteem in whatever way they can manage. It could be with snide comments here and there. It could be a lack of comments. They don't compliment you on anything because they don't want you to ever think they think you make you feel good. They don't want to give you power over them knowing that their feelings for you. It could be with dirty looks when you act goofy with your friends in public. No matter what it is, if you're being judged at all times by the very person who should be encouraging and loving you to be yourself, don't put up with that shit. Get out. Or if you don't want to get out and you want to resolve it, 2 to 3 conversations max. If it can't be resolved, get over it. Get over it and get out of it. Number 4, they say they forgive you, but they don't ever forget what you've done. I'm going to say something before I get into the information on this. Remember, when you hurt somebody, they should be able to forgive you within the first couple of days. Like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry too, yada, yada. Do the kiss, the hug, make up sex, whatever it is you need to do. Forgetting takes a little more time, and you got to respect the other person's process, especially if you did it to them and they're having to forgive you for something you did to them. You have to help them through their process so that they can eventually forget it. Forgetting doesn't happen overnight. Remember, the mind is awesome at remembering things that hurt. And because of that, you have to help them process that out. But they shouldn't be hanging over your head like a carrot on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. Every couple fights. Everyone does things to upset their partner every now and then. And again, that warrant apology. However, it's not a healthy thing if your partner accepts your apology and then holds the situation over your head like blackmail. Manipulative people tend to forgive people for their wrongdoings, which paints them as a very accepting, understanding figure, only to bring the transgression up over and over again. Now, if you did something really tragic or traumatic to them, well, then this is going to be something you're going to have to just accept. You have to walk on coals, and when their process is done, it's done. But if it's over a simple fight like every other couple has, and they hang it over your head, that's a power trip. It's power over you. Not cool. If you genuinely apologize for something, your partner should take it and move on. Remember, go watch my segment on 7 keys to a successful relationship. 2 to 3 conversations, both people want to resolve it, you let it go. Good couples move on. 5, you feel like you have to change parts of your personality to fit their moods. The mood swings of a manipulative person. Woo, I mean, who can't talk about these? But you probably know them all too well, right? One of my clients said that their ex-boyfriend was so unpredictable that it drove them mad, right? Literally drove them out of the relationship. Every time, he changed his attitude, she felt like she had to adapt, and it was exhausting, right? They tell you, hey, come over, let's hang out. And you come over and everything feels good. The text says, smiley face it, exclamation mark. But when you get there, you're draggy, you're drab, or that you get to their place and all of a sudden they're kind of like, hey, what's up? But then when you're hanging out, you start to feel like shit. Manipulative people want everything done on their time. Plus, they manage to make people close to them feel like they can be themselves. And then when you do get closer to them, you find out you can't be yourself. Take it as a serious red flag if your partner is sweet and affectionate to you, but cold the next moment, leaving you feeling like you have to tone down parts of your personality when they're not in high spirits. Now, everybody has a moment where they've had a bad day at work or whatnot. We're talking about patterns here. Number 6, they know your weakness and they use it against you. This is a sad thing too that I see with couples when you tell them something in confidence and they use it against you later. It makes you feel like, okay, I can't even confide in you because you use information that I confide in you with against me to win fights. Remember, happy couples, successful couples aren't worried about being right. They're worried about being happy. That's why they should care about resolve and not fighting and not being right. Being right is for children. If you feel the need to always be right or be defensive or be on the fence, you're either manipulative, you're broken, or you need to go back and work on yourself before you get in a relationship. But if it's with a partner that knows your weaknesses and uses it against you, this is textbook manipulation of a significant other's behavior. They'll get close to you and they'll claim they want to know everything about you, but then when they learn both your strengths and weaknesses, they choose to use the latter against you, right? One of my clients, their ex knew how much they hated public scenes. So when they would get in a fight, she told me he would cause fights in front of people because she knew she would immediately want to go somewhere else and fight back home where he could control the situation. So he then would follow her home or whatever, and they'd fight when they're alone. But it was just a ploy to get exactly what he wanted. That's a red flag. Number 7, you've given up on things in your life, things that you love because they want you to. You and your significant other should be each other's biggest support system, right? If you're going to be with each other and it's going to be only you living in a box, let's call it a house, which means they should encourage you to do whatever you want to do with your life. Now, if they want to say, I'd rather you go left than right when you're getting to the same goal, that's just someone trying to help you maybe find the best path. But if they're trying to talk you out of things you love, like completely, like one of my clients, she was made to feel guilty for wanting to take dance classes. Her boyfriend thought she didn't have the right body and for the type of dance that she wanted to do. And eventually she stopped going to classes because he had mentally conditioned her over time that she wasn't good enough. Now, that was just another way of him to control the situation and control her. And when you love someone, what they say has effect and they know how to manipulate you. Good people don't manipulate you. They want you to be happy. They might want you to do something a little, better. They might criticize it with a positive attitude, constructive criticism, but they never don't want you to reach your goal. Number 8, they say you're good, that you're a good girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, lover if you do a list of certain things. Let's get something straight. You're in a relationship, you're already a good boyfriend or girlfriend. Just being who you are, you're there. Now, a lot of the things that they should have already accepted about you is through dating. You date to find out whether you can be long-term. You date to find out whether you like the way they look, you like the way they comb their hair, you love their house, they make you feel comfortable. You should have all these things worked out. So we're talking about once you're involved with them, these things should already be done. There shouldn't be any requirements for you two to meet in order to be each other's partner and say, I love you at this point. You'll never be perfect. No one is, but you can be, compatible and complementary at this point together. So if there's faults, they should be complementary faults probably. Or if they're faults, it's ones that they've accepted and they don't see as a big deal. So if there's something you're doing that is hurting or bothering your partner, they should talk to you about it, or you should talk to them about it with maturity and in a mature, respectful manner, rather than make you feel guilty for not being a certain kind of girlfriend or boyfriend. In fact, if you find yourself feeling guilty more often than normal, take a serious look and look at it as a warning sign. Okay? So I hope these 8 things help you kind of identify a manipulation. And there's probably a list of 30 to 50 things we could go through, but I think these are the 8 crucial, typical, common things that exist in manipulative relationships. So if you found, or you'd like to book, a personal session with me, contact me via the email below. And if you found this information helpful, show your appreciation by clicking the PayPal donation link below, and I will talk to you soon.